Approximately 9:31 p.m. last night, officers from the Salina Police Department were sent to the 800 block of Russell, reference to a female suffering from a gunshot wound. Upon their arrival, they found Allie Saum, a 17-year-old Salina resident, with a gunshot wound to the head. Saum was immediately transported to the Salina Regional Health Center by medics. She was later pronounced deceased in the early morning hours of May 7th, today. During our investigation, it was discovered that a Vince Johnson, a 18-year-old Salina resident, was driving a blue Dodge truck eastbound in the 500 block of Russell, and Saum was a passenger in the pickup truck. As he was driving, several shots were fired from the rear at the truck, with one round traveling through the rear window, striking Saum in the head. Two of the shots struck the tailgate of the victim's vehicle and a parked vehicle on the street. Witnesses reported a silver Honda passenger car had fled the area shortly after the shooting. As a result of this investigation, which is ongoing, we were able to arrest 5 individuals for their involvement in this shooting. These 5 people, in no particular order, but we'll clarify that after we're done here. The first one is Macio Palacio, 22 years old, of Salina. He was arrested for felony murder, unlawful discharge of a weapon. Jeremy Forbes, 19, of Salina, conspiracy to commit felony murder, conspiracy to commit criminal discharge of a weapon, and obstruction. Stephen Gentry, 17, of Salina, conspiracy to commit felony murder, conspiracy to commit criminal discharge of a weapon, and obstruction. Andrew Woodring, 17, of Salina, conspiracy to commit felony murder, conspiracy to commit criminal discharge of a weapon. And Daniel Sims, 19, of Salina, conspiracy to commit felony murder, conspiracy to commit criminal discharge of a weapon, and obstruction. In addition, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Azunson Garcia Ferenzes. I can't pronounce that, but we'll get that out to you spelling, obviously, but I can't pronounce it. 21 years old, of Salina. She was arrested for felony obstruction and child endangerment. Our investigation to date, and again, it's ongoing, revealed that the above male subjects were in the area looking to seek revenge for a fight that had occurred earlier in the evening. Mr. Palacio was carrying a .45 caliber Glock handgun at this time, and that's when he fired at the truck as it passed him. As Johnson was driving by, they mistakenly identified him as a participant from the earlier disturbance. Palacio then fired several rounds at the truck from his handgun, striking Saum in the head. It certainly does appear to be a textbook case of mistaken identity. The truck had nothing to do with the earlier fight. Ms. Saum was just merely in the truck at the time they drove by. Mistaken identity is what we can tell so far, 100%. We certainly, as a department and as the chief of police, offer our sincere condolences to the Saum family. I mean, this is a tragedy. We all have children. We can all barely understand how this would be with your family. We certainly want to thank the community. They were very helpful. We had a lot of witnesses in the area, and they provided us with information that was definitely helpful for the case. Our investigators have been here all night. They're here today. They continue to work on this, and they will continue to work on it until the investigation is complete. We will release a press release with additional information before noon today. With that said, that's the end of the formal statement that I had. Yes, sir.
Can you go over one more time the scenario where they mistake this truck, they're out for revenge? Just kind of do that scenario for us one more time.
We're not exactly sure why they were in the 800 block of Russell, but they were basically standing in the street. Truck drives by. They believe that to be the person involved that had earlier got in a fist fight with one of these folks. And for that reason, again, mistakenly identified the truck as being the driver, as somebody he was involved with in a fight, which is not true. We haven't found it to be true at all. And start taking shots at the truck as it passes.
You know how many shots were fired?
Several. I mean, the investigation will tell, but I don't want to say exactly. I'll be wrong. But there's several shots were fired at the truck as they went by.
And just the
truck's already going down the street, so it's not side shots. The truck's going down the street.
The truck is passed, and he's shooting into the back windshield of the truck?
Yes, and hits it several times.
Is it just the one shooter, Chief?
Yes.
Do you expect additional arrests?
Well, it's always possible, but to have 5 or 6 arrests already is in my eyes, pretty impressive. At this point, we feel we have all involved, but of course, it could lead to other arrests, but that's something we'll look into.
Do you think the fight happened at that location, or was that an earlier incident?
It was earlier, and it did not happen at that location.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on the apprehension of Macio? Where did you find him?
Well, at this time, no. I can just say that the investigation definitely led to all these folks. It happened very quickly, as some of these things do. And again, great police work by the detectives and the patrol officers, but they were able to locate all these folks in Salina shortly after the incident happened.
How were you notified? Was it a neighbor that heard the shots or neighbors in the neighborhood that heard it?
A lot of neighbors heard it and not necessarily saw it, but they did see the suspect vehicle, which was kind of the key, this silver Honda. That was the key to the whole thing. And that's where I'm talking about the public cooperation and information. That was very, very beneficial to this investigation. That's what led to everything else happening after that, was witnesses in the neighborhood coming forth and telling us about this car.
Because after shots were fired, they jumped into the silver Honda and fled the scene.
That's correct.
Were they found at multiple locations throughout Salina, or were they all together?
Several locations, some came in to the station. I mean, it was just different. Some we went out and found. One actually came in with some information, so. Like I said, we'll have a little bit more at before 12 today, and we'll cut and paste these names because it is, obviously, some of these spellings is pretty difficult. But the Palacio is the gentleman we believe to be, he's not a gentleman, he's the individual we believe to be the shooter, Mr. Palacio. I believe I'm pronouncing that correct.
One more time, please. The charges you're requesting against Palacio is
Felony murder and unlawful discharge of a weapon. And it's obvious, well, it may not be obvious, but the others that were arrested, it's safe to assume they were at the scene when this happened, otherwise we wouldn't have had all these charges. With that said, unless you have any other questions, we'll get you that information. Captain Sweeney will get you the names. Just cut and paste that section of the 5 or 6 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people. We'll have that.
And you'll have the charges with it too, won't you?
Yeah.
The previous fight, a fist fight, or what kind of fight?
Yeah, fist fight.
I'll take it from KSA on the address. Don't worry about it.
The only thing I want to emphasize before I'm done is obviously it's a tragedy. I hate when this happens in the community, but it absolutely appears to be a case of mistaken identity, and the victim had absolutely nothing to do with the previous fight, which makes it even more tragic. That's all I have.